What's up, YouTube? It's Leo again. Today I want to talk to you about some research stuff. I've been in research for a couple years now. First for Professor Chen, and then for Professor Liu for quite a bit of time. Um, and then I've been doing some research for my professor, Professor Wong, now for a couple of semesters. And we just presented at SciTech. AIAA SciTech. It was a great time. It was in Orlando, Florida. I had to fly out there in the morning, get there in the evening, pick up my rental, go straight to my hotel, continue to work throughout the night, and then go meet up where SciTech was held, and be there at 7 a.m. to go turn in my presentation, and then wait until the evening to present, and then the following morning I had to present the second paper. So there are some other projects that the team is working on, the research team, and the guys who were working on some of that other stuff were unable to attend, and so my professor had to present for those, and so he wouldn't have a mountain of presentations. I was supposed to present one, he was supposed to present the other. I ended up having to present both, but it was a great time. It was just super tiring. I was starting moving just prior to that, and then of course some weeks before that it was right after the holidays, and so it was holidays, and then prior to that, of course, it's finals and final projects and stuff, and then moving immediately after that. And so yeah, I didn't get like really any sleep leading up to it, and of course we were trying to, it was crunch time to get the stuff submitted, but then to get the paper, the transcript submitted, both of them, and then after that, preparing all of the presentation slides and stuff, and so I didn't get very much sleep leading up to it. And then the night that I got there, I didn't get any sleep the night before. The baby just wouldn't go to sleep, and I still had some work to get done, and I still needed to pack and stuff like that, and so I didn't really get any sleep. And then I didn't really get any sleep on the plane. I continued to work, and then I got to the hotel, and I worked all throughout the night until it was time to leave. And of course, I had to iron some stuff. I needed a shower and things like that, and so I got there early in the morning with no sleep for several nights, and then met up with my professor. We went over the slides and stuff, and made a couple changes here and there, and then I presented in the afternoon after we attended a few different presentations, and then I presented in the afternoon. The first one was on detecting upstream anomalies or dangerous events using the domain of dependence, which is adjoint based. And then after that afternoon, I went out with some of the other students, so some other guys that I go to school with, who were meeting up for dinner, and so I went out with them, and then I went back to the hotel and continued to work on the slides for the next one. So I didn't really get any sleep then either, because I had to present in the morning for that one. So I got it all squared away, and then showed up and presented in the morning. And that one was on data assimilation using sparse PIV data, and that's what a lot of the code base has been. But yeah, it's like most of the research I've been doing, although it's aerospace related, of course, is largely CFD related. But most of it, or at least most of the work that I've had to contribute to it, of course, is programming. So mostly C++. There's some Python in there, some Fortran, but mostly C++. And and then they had some events there. Meet the employers, which was a little bit like speed dating, where the students sat down to the different at different tables, and would cycle through the different tables after so much time. They'd ring a bell, everybody moves to another table, and at these tables were a representative of each of the employers. And then they also had like another sort of what looked like an expo of the different employers had different booths, and you could come up and ask about positions. They were advertising some of the positions they had available, as well as some of the services that they offer to whoever wants to potentially do some business with them and things like that. And I did have a very good conversation with somebody at GE Aerospace, who then asked me for links or access to the papers that I was submitting because I was wearing my like lanyard with my name on it, and it a little tag that said I was presenting. And so she asked me about it, and I told her about it. She seemed very interested, and I can never really tell. Like when I sometimes I think people are interested in the things that I'm saying, and find out afterward that they were not as interested as I thought, and I was just kind of talking their ear off. So I'm always like, I don't know, worried about that, and so I always try to like hold back and my own enthusiasm, and and I'm talking about my research stuff that I've been doing and stuff that I'm passionate about, and so I try to like restrain myself a little bit and make sure that the person I'm talking to has an out in case they're not very interested. But we ended up exchanging contact information, and I ended up giving her printed copies of the papers, and then she recently reached out to me, and I'm updating my resume right now to submit to them. So I mean that in itself is great. Of course, I wasn't really. It's not that I was like stressing out. I gotta find an employer or whatever for when I graduate, because of course my plan is to finish grad school as well. So, but it was nice to be noticed or recognized, and to be given a potential opportunity from someone who is in industry and who is kind of on the leading edge and is sort of in that space of research and development, and not necessarily just hey, we need more entry level engineers to do the CAD or do the calculations or whatever. And it's not that I frown upon those things or anything like that. It's just that the reason I have been doing research basically through my whole undergrad is because I like it. I like research. I like working on things that are not yet well defined and things that are not yet well understood, and I like having to teach myself things that I don't already know, like the adjoint method. I didn't know anything about it when I started, and of course I've had to do the derivations and stuff myself to really understand it so that I would be able to program it. But yeah, SciTech was great. I was super exhausted, and then the day I came after I got home, started moving stuff, and we're still in the process of moving now, and the semester has already started, and it's been tough. It's been tough. But the code right now is like, for the DA challenge, we're already there. We had some issues where the memory allocated to a particular node was like less than what the large number of files and stuff would actually, or computations would actually load into RAM, and so I had to change some stuff that held stuff in shared memory, but like really long continuous data in memory to chunks, and then like temporary writes, and then using hash map, and then being able to afterward organize them, and so to limit the load on RAM. And then I had to do that in several parts of the code, and like now then when the RAM issue was no longer there, I ran into a disk limitation, only because on the so we use an HPC using Slurm at the HPC, the high performance computer at school, and each user only gets like a certain amount of storage allocated to them as they're using it. And so I ran into that limit, but otherwise, like so the code didn't run to completion, but it only stopped, part way, because, well, most of the way through, because I ran out of disk space. So we're pretty good. We're in pretty good standing right now, and so I've been able to report that to my professor, and we're going to be meeting tomorrow to do that, or to go over it. But the other thing is I've been shooting some of this stuff on my camera, a little bit at SciTech. I didn't want to get a camera in people's faces and stuff, and you're not allowed to record or take pictures of or whatever, document people's presentations and stuff. But I took a little bit here and there, and I've been taking some video along the way while we're working on it throughout the semester at the lab and stuff. And then I'm going to continue to do that now, so I can hopefully wrap up this whole thing about doing graduate research, basically, for anybody who's interested, especially people in engineering and stuff, to see kind of what it's like. And I did have a student of mine, a previous tutoring, a student that I used to tutor, reach out to me. Well, he didn't get to directly reach out to me, of course. He reached out to the tutoring center that I contracted with, and then he told them that he wanted to get in contact with me because he was interested in doing research. So he knew I was doing research, and so he wanted to reach out. And so that was very, very recent. So I'll be communicating with him shortly, I'm sure, regarding that stuff. But so I know, I mean, I'm not a content creator, like I don't, YouTube or whatever is like not my job. I don't plan to make money from it or anything like that or get any kind of sponsorships or anything. I just, sometimes I want to watch videos about stuff that I'm interested in. And they're like some useful videos and some not so useful videos. And like some of them are very surface level where I need them to be in depth. And then some of them are like, too far into something I'm just now, just at the moment learning about, so it goes over my head, and there's just, I think, too much content, right? Not just on YouTube, but everywhere in social media, of course. That's just content for the sake of content, and it's like someone's career to, and I don't know, whatever people decide to make their career, and of course all those people work hard at it, so I don't think anything badly about it, but you know, I do remember the old days of YouTube where people just made videos just to make videos for the funsies of it, and I miss that. I kind of miss that. Um, Not to be a back in my day type of millennial, but yeah, that's how I feel. Is like everything is so just for the purpose of getting their numbers up and making it as a content creator, and that's not at all my plan. Of course, my plan is like finish my degree, go to graduate school and finish that, ultimately get my PhD, and hopefully work in research in engineering, hopefully for the betterment of society. Um, which I don't know. There's a whole lot to that as well. That's like, I don't know. I don't want to get into it, but yeah, that's my goal. You know, and of course, like outside of that, like even work and research and stuff, like it's not my number one priority. My number one priority, of course, is my family. It's my kids, my wife, um, and doing the most for them, being here for them, and doing the most that I can for them. I've been spending like the last week, making sure my son understands his math homework, and I keep myself available to him, and I tell him, when he's not here, I tell him like if you need any help with your math, the sooner you find that out, if you have a test coming up, if there's some homework you're struggling with, just tell me, just call me. If I'm in class and I like can't help you right then, I'll help you right after I get out, or however it works out. Like I'll make time. I have to. But it's not just that. It's like being able to take him to wrestling class. We have a garden in the backyard, and we're like real excited about it. And so we planted some stuff back there, and some of it's doing real well. Some of it is not. But it's something we share and we like to do. And then yeah, he always really likes barbecuing with me and stuff. So I got a charcoal grill, and we grilled in the backyard and made some delicious stuff. And so I don't want to miss out on those moments. And of course, yeah, with any of my kids, I don't want to miss out on any of those opportunities that I have to share with them. Um, for and for really for both of us, for myself as a parent, like I don't want to miss out on those moments. And then like also for the sake of my children, I want them to know and remember and have those moments with me as well, to like that, so that there's no question in their mind, as adults, about how much I cared about them or loved them, or yeah, any of that stuff. I want them to know, without a doubt, without a question. Nobody's perfect. I'm for sure not perfect, not even as a parent, and I have my moments where I fail as a parent and stuff, and I try to work on it all the time and always be better. But I know that there are times that I don't do as good of a job as I wish I had, and that'll continue to be the case. But even though maybe the way that I approach things and the way that I do things are like not ways that they would have liked, or will have liked by the time they're like reflecting on it as adults, um, or they don't like it even in the moment or whatever, that's it won't be a question of, you know, like whether I cared about them or not. Like that, I would hope, I hope that, if not now, because of course, like children don't understand things like you get on them about having to take a shower or brush their teeth or do their homework and they don't want to. And so it's sort of a negative experience, but of course, these are things that have to get done. And as adults, we hope that we have enough self-control to like be good at them or like be good at staying disciplined at them. But of course, children are not as disciplined. We were not as disciplined as children. And so we have to sort of push our kids to do the right thing. But, as adults, what I think of when I think of them being adults, that they'll be able to think back and be like, you know what, I know I didn't want to do my homework, but it's a good thing you pushed me to do my homework. And even though maybe like at sometimes it felt like he could have been nicer about it or something like that, right? Like this is just for example. It won't be a question of like, did I do it because I wanted to be mean to them, or did I do it because I cared? That won't be a question. So that's really, my number one priority is being good to my family. Um, but yeah, I mean, outside of that, anything personal development sort of stuff, personal accomplishments and things like this, of course, yeah, I'd like to get my PhD. I'd like to finish up my PhD and have that for my children to see as an example, and also for myself, of course, to have accomplished that. And I don't know. Outside of that, like I have hobbies. There are things that like I'd like to eventually, do more jiu-jitsu, get my purple belt, and do more at wrestling, do more at kickboxing, get in better shape, get better at mountain biking, work on more videos, and actually produce some stuff. I've written some short film stuff, and I haven't been able to film like any of it. So I'd like to have time for all those things. Of course, my priorities come first: my family and my finishing up my education. But when there's time for this sort of other hobby, personal stuff, then I try to take the time to do it, which is, I guess, what I'm doing now by making this video. Um, but yeah, I'm going to be shooting some interviews, some faculty interviews for some of the faculty over at school. Uh, and yeah, I plan to shoot a little bit more documentary footage for the rest of this research stuff, and then compile it all into however long is appropriate for the amount of information I'd like to get across or present in a video, which may be an hour, maybe 2 hours, maybe it's only 30 minutes. Who knows? But I'll try to do as good of a job as I can on it. And I've got my R50. I've got a few lenses. I've got a few like sound recorder, some microphones, a shotgun mic, and some stuff. So I'm gonna try to do as good of a job on it as I can. I'd like to not produce it or like put it out and then be like, oh man, I should have done this or I should have done that, which is inevitable. But like, I don't want it to be so blatant and obvious, and for me to like, I don't know, want to punch myself in the face for how I made it. So yeah, I'll keep at it. But it has been tiring, and I haven't put out a video in a long time. So I figured I'd just give an update on the research stuff, the ongoing documentary for the research stuff, and then the other short-term stuff that I'll be doing with like the faculty interviews. Anyway, I've been ranting long enough, so thanks for stopping by. I'll see you guys later.